Thank you for tuning in to 26 Sports. It's your host, Mike Reza, and today I'm on with a special two guests of some of the most intelligent boxing minds in all of women's Twitter, social media, and boxing in general. First, to my left, I have the legendary troll stomper online, Nayka. You already know who she is.
Hi.
Next to Nayka, I have one of the most legendary who just for all of Latinas all around the world and just the Latin people in general, the one and only great Claudia Trejos. How you guys doing today?
Thank you.
Doing pretty
Great.
good. Yes.
Great. So today we have a very special episode. We're here to talk about the ladies. You know, one of the biggest fights in just boxing period for this year is Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Obviously, Claudia, you're going to be there in person, so you get to actually witness it, announce it, and call that fight. We will be watching. It's going to be a busy Saturday next week, but that's one of the biggest fights, period, in boxing. So, first off, Nayka, how do you feel about that fight and just, seeing the ladies get the recognition because you're a New York girl. It's going to be at Madison Square Garden. So, how does that make you feel?
It's been a long time coming, so I'm happy that it's happening and that it's happening in New York at Madison Square Garden. It's gonna be full of Puerto Ricans, let me tell you.
Yes.
I know that Madison Square Garden is gonna be flooded with Puerto Ricans. So yes, my people will be in there cheering on Amanda. I think she's gonna take this. So that's gonna be a crazy atmosphere. So I'm glad that she has this platform. It's going to be awesome. Everybody's been waiting for this fight. This fight's been brewing for so long, so we're excited.
Definitely. And Claudia, how do you feel? I mean, you're going to be there, and again, it's the women that are headlining the big event at Madison Square Garden. So, how do you feel just for women, and then just the type of fight that it should be?
I have to agree with Nika. The truth of the matter is, we've been waiting for this fight since 2019, perhaps even a little earlier. So I'm glad that finally the Mecca of boxing understands that this is literally a game changer. Why do I say that? Even though we have the winningest female, like on Clarissa Shields, and then we have like great, outstanding figures in the world of boxing in women, this is the best against the best in women's boxing. I'm expecting a war. I'm expecting a war at Madison Square Garden. And to me, is a privilege because I come from way back in the day when boxing among women in many countries was illegal. Let's not forget that somebody like I'm not going to bring any more names, but in Sweden, Mexico,
Oh, yeah.
women's boxing was illegal. So the fact that it's brought into Madison Square Garden, it adds credibility, it cachet, and let's not forget, boxing at Madison Square Garden has just a different taste.
Yeah. So, for me, like you guys said, we've been waiting for this fight for years. I know I started
Yes.
calling for it a few years ago. Katie Taylor, I do believe she's an exceptional talent. She's a great fighter. But me, see, like I know a lot of people, or I'll be honest, a lot of men would always be like, oh, I don't watch women's boxing. I don't watch the ladies and all this and that. I've been a fan of Amanda Serrano for years. I've been watching her sister fight, all these other women
Cindy.
fight. Cindy Serrano, exactly. I've been watching them fight for years. So Amanda, I've always been a big fan of. So I always thought to myself, her and Katie would be a great fight. And now that it's finally done, I'm like, man, there we go. And as you said, New York, Madison Square Garden, not the theater, not any of those places, at the main mecca of boxing. And I believe, yeah, as you said, it's a game changer. This is going to be big, and it's going to show the world what these women can do. Because I believe it's probably going to sell out the way it's
It is.
looking.
They had to open a third tier
Oh wow!
because they sold out. So Matchroom opened a third tier to make sure that we had enough tickets. And just to add to what you just said, I come from the era of the Christy Martins, the Mia St. Johns, and boxing has evolved in women's realm has evolved so much that now we have a full talent. It's a wide pool of talent, and we're finally getting the opportunity to see fine-tuned
Mm-hmm.
fighters
Yeah.
in the ring. Let's not forget that I had a chance to see the Cecilia Bracases of this world, and that's the lady I was referring to. A lady that never got a chance to fight Madison Square Garden or before public, which is in Norway.
Yeah.
It's illegal in Norway. So again, if Madison Square Garden can open the doors and make women's fighting a main event, this is a historic moment.
Definitely. Nayka, how do you feel? I mean, same thing. You know, it's just more. It's more than the fight. It's the moment itself.
Yeah, and I'm so happy for Amanda because I feel like she has made it to this moment in boxing for women without doing like the extras and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, like being over sexualized. Like she just did it with like hard work, winning the fights, just grinding. So I like to see just women just like grinding and doing what they need to do without having to do the extra and finally getting
Yeah.
notary and the attention that they're supposed to get. So, all these men that said that they don't like women's boxing, like, go scratch somewhere. Like
Yeah.
go scratch somewhere. It's unbelievable the men like these women be banging. Like they
Yeah.
bang more than some of these men in the ring. Like you gotta be kidding me. Like women's boxing is definitely up there and it should be, loved all around the world. So
It should. I was at you. For those that don't know,
oh yes,
me and Nayka were at the Michaela Mayer and Jennifer Hahn fight, and I'm gonna tell you guys
yeah.
right now, man, there were some pops
They were
in that
banging.
fight.
Yeah,
Yes,
they were banging. They were
even the
banging.
girl Guinea, her friend, she was tearing that
Yeah,
girl up.
she
Those
was
were some
banging
hard
too.
shots. And
Yes.
one thing that I've always had discussions with people is the women, they know they have to go out there and show out when they fight. They know they have to put on a show. They're not gonna hug. They're not gonna, slow tap.
There's no clinch.
Yeah,
We don't know how that goes.
you're there to
Yeah.
fight. So I'm always excited when
But
I
you
see
know
the
what?
women's.
This is, but I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna take two steps back. It's interesting what you just said, Micah, because whenever the outsiders talk about women's boxing, they always look for the sexualized personas, which this is not a moral comment. This is simply technician comment.
Yeah.
The ladies that we're talking about right now and that should before are fighters. They are fighters. So be it that you like men or women, if you love the art of boxing, the fine art, the sweet science, you have to admire these ladies. Very fine-tuned fight plans
Yeah.
and they execute to its best. So be it that they're pretty or not, or that they're sexy or not, they are fighters. And this is what I want to bring to the table. And again, this is not a comment about morality behind it. I'm just happy to see two women that are willing to come out and bang out. And we could talk about Michaela, which I know from the amateurs very well. And then we Heather Hardy's, and we go way back. It is time for us to recognize the value that ladies do bring to the ring in fight skills,
Yeah.
not looks, fighting skills, period.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you really are to talk about some of these ladies that fight, some of them, as you said, they have better skills or at least on par with some of these other fighters. If we talk about Sanisa Estrada, I mean,
Exactly.
she comes down there and she puts it down. She knows what she's doing.
Marlene Esparza, she sits behind that jab. Yes.
Exactly. Honestly, as much as hate as she gets, and I don't understand why, Clarissa Shields is one
I
of the
love
most
her.
talented
I love
fighters.
her.
No,
Who?
Clarissa.
But let
okay.
me ask
I
you
love
something.
Clarissa too.
Why does she get any hate? This is the winningest woman, hands down, the one boxer that represents the U.S. at the amateur level and gets 2 Olympic gold medals back to back. What other fighter can say that?
Exactly. And they just hate just to
I
hate.
know that they don't like her cocky attitude, but like this is what the men do. Like, what's wrong with her believing in herself? Because
Thank you.
you have to believe in yourself. If you don't, then nobody else will. And
Exactly.
it's taken her as far as as she's come. So, I don't see anything wrong with it. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why.
If I was a fighter, that would be me. So a lot of people
Yeah.
probably would hate me as well.
it-
Because I would talk my shit too.
Haters will hate no matter
matter
what.
what.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is with people just in general in boxing though, just not even women. It's like when Shakur Stevenson, when they asked him about if he was to fight Canelo, he said he'd feel he could beat Canelo on skill wise, and people got mad. I'm like, you have to believe that. You have to think that, because you're not gonna say, "Oh, I think that guy would beat me up. Oh, I think I would lose. Oh, I think she could beat me." Then why are you here? Why would you show up to fight if you think you're gonna lose?
I just have one instance that would be a clear example of what you're saying. Andy Ruiz against Anthony Joshua.
Yep.
Joshua.
Andy never walked into Madison Square Garden thinking, well, maybe I would lose. No, that's not the way it works.
Exactly. And I mean, even if we go more recent, last year with Valdez and Burchelt, when people said
Yes.
Valdez
yes.
might get hurt, and then he did what he did. Now, the questions that have come up after, who knows, but up leading into that night, everybody was so sure that Burchelt was going to win, and Valdez came and just put it on him. So there's always those instances. You have to believe in yourself. Clarissa, she might be loud, she might be outspoken, but she's allowed to be. She's done it. She's earned it. Now, if she was 7 wins, 3 losses, and a draw, and she was like, I'm the best, all right, calm down. But she's beaten everybody.
Yeah.
She's not been in a close fight. That's my thing is, like, I think people want her to be in a fight where it's close, or she gets cut, or she gets hurt. And the closest thing she's been was when she fought Hannah Gabriels when she got dropped by a jab. That's about it. That's the only time I've ever seen her dropped. And it was a flash knockdown. So Clarissa just gets hate just because she is who she is, but I have nothing wrong with that. I hope she keeps winning.
I mean, she has a big fight brewing too that she has to keep talking that trash to get everybody, excited about it with Savannah Marshall. So, she needs to keep doing what she's doing.
It's the only loss she's ever had. Let's not forget that. And it was in the amateurs.
Amateurs, yeah. So, that fight definitely brewing and ready to be because we're ready to see that one.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. Now, also on that card, there's another women's undisputed fight on the Taylor Serrano card. One of Franchon Cruz, one of my good friends. I've speak to her a lot. She's really cool. Real
She's awesome.
She's one of the best people I know.
I love her.
She's going in there for
lovely lady.
Finally gets her undisputed shot. And same way as you were saying, Nayka, about Amanda, she's grinded. She's worked her ass off. She's put herself in her position. She believes in herself. And now she gets a shot to go for undisputed as well. So, what do you know about her opponent, Claudia? And how do you think that's going to go?
Franchon brings to the table something that goes beyond technique and tactic. Franchon brings security, assurance, and crowd. She's a crowd-pleasing fighter. And those are what I call the intangibles. She brings the fight on. She's a massive production in terms of punches, power punches. I mean, this is the only woman that I know that her trainer in the middle of the fight at the corner takes her weave off and she keeps fighting.
Yeah.
Good for her. You all remember that.
Yes.
And she never lost a beat. She never skipped a beat.
That was...
So with that being said, she brings pizzazz. To me, she is one of those people that have the star quality. It goes beyond boxing. She's her attire, the way she carries herself, the way she speaks. There's everything about her that makes up a great entertainer. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a toe-to-toe fight. It's going to be in the middle of the ring because that's what Franchon brings to the table.
Yeah. And Nayka, obviously, as you said, you know her as well. How do you feel for Franchon to get her shot like this?
I'm so happy because she's been having like delay after delay and disappointments of like trying to have a fight. When she was with Golden Boy, I think.
Yeah.
She had a lot of hiccups there that was preventing her from having the fights, like whether it was like COVID or like the promotion with. I think she was all those fights got scrapped. So it actually was a blessing in disguise for her because now she's on a big stage in Madison Square Garden for an undisputed title, so against Sedarus. And she's been having to deal with a lot of stuff. I mean, the fight that you were talking about where she had to get her weave pulled off, That was the fight that she was fighting. A
Oh,
dirty fight. I think.
yeah, she tested positive.
That she
Yes.
positive.
And
So
yeah, she
yes,
tested
that's another.
positive. But
Yes.
but even then, that was an amazing fight.
Yeah.
They
They
duked
were
it out.
banging.
It was
Yeah.
they were banging in the middle. Now, are we gonna get that from Ellen Cederros? Do we know Ellen Cederros? I don't know her. She
I
comes
don't
from
know her neither.
Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I was just
but
gonna say I
but
don't really know her opponent.
I don't know her opponent, but the one thing I do know is what Franchon brings to the table. And it doesn't matter who she faces. Because I remember back in the day, that fight was in San Antonio. It was like she didn't care.
Yeah.
The Her opponent was taller, bigger, stronger, and they went to the very last bell, toe to toe. So for me, once you go on what's expected of you as a fighter and it's just grit, and you can actually just your will supersedes whatever type of fight plan you have, because at that point in time when the weave was pulled off, literally it was fight plan was out the window.
Yeah.
And when you can actually pull it from within your heart and take that to the last bell, and it was not a close call because I was there, I covered that fight. It was a toe-to-toe fight.
Yeah.
Now we ended up figuring out that she tested positive, yada yada yada. So, but that shows me that Franchon has a fighter spirit. So she's going to be facing a lady that's only had 8 professional fights. Let's not forget Franchon's amateur pedigree. Very extensive. So we add that with the kind of opponents that she's faced, high level, very well seasoned fighters. So I don't think this is going to be much of a try for her. Is this going to be something that she's going to have to pull deep? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I feel the same. I just think that everything that's built up for Franchon over this last year and a half is going to come out on this night, and she's going to get what she's been striving for, and she's going to show up and earn it, because that's just the way she does things. And as you said, that night in San Antonio, what a lot of people don't remember is how she even got put into the Golden Boy contract and became a champion. She came up as like a last minute replacement for a fight against Marcela Cornejo, who was being put up by Golden Boy as their next champion, as their women's champion, and twice Franchon beat her. So that showed me that she was for real, she was legit, and she was here to stay, and she's just continued to
Alejandra Jimenez.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes. Alejandra Jimenez.
I still remember that because I was arguing back and forth with her fiance online, because the fiance was online trying to tell everybody that her fiance was not dirty, and then the results came out, and then they disappeared. You never heard from them again. So
we never heard. As a matter of fact, I don't think she's ever fought after that. I'm gonna look it up.
Once in Mexico, I think.
Oh, in Mexico?
Yeah, I think once.
Well, but it's not in. It hasn't been sanctioned because I'm looking at her box rack. It's not there. The last fight she had was back in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, she disappeared.
So,
She
disappeared. And I was there. And you're right. I mean, those Maricela Cornejos, the first one was a TKO and the second one went the distance. I'm sorry. They were both. I'm sorry. I was talking about Kayla Williams. They both went to the distance. But Maricela, again, gritty fighter, a lot of heart, very tall, long reach, and Franchon just annulled that.
Yeah.
She annulled it.
Exactly. And that's why I'm pulling for her. She was one of the first people I started to interview on this channel, so I've always been a fan and a supporter of her, so I hope she's able to pull that through and get that victory next week.
Her personality and her fashionista style is tailor-made for Madison Square Garden.
I love it.
She does her own outfits, all of that.
Yes, she does.
She's great, and she could sing, and she.
But
can
now
do all that.
I have $1 million question for all you, because there's a lot of controversy behind all the titles that Amanda has, and obviously she's by a hair below Manny Pacquiao. So it's Manny Pacquiao, then it's Amanda, then it's, I believe, Floyd or Oscar,
and then Floyd.
Oscar, and then Floyd.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of people say, well, she had no competition. I beg to differ. I mean, competition is competition. If the competition is not good enough, it means that either I'm way too good or the pool of talent is not good enough.
Yeah.
Either way, I earned that title.
You can only fight who's in front of
That's
you.
my thought.
Yeah, you can only fight who's there. It's not.
Exactly. Like she doesn't make the decisions of who in that weight class. She fights whoever's in front of her. So
Yeah. So
it with women they scrutinize a little more. I'm pretty sure if it was a man and that did the same thing as her, they wouldn't hard on it.
well, we'll put it like this: when it comes to Amanda, they hate on her, saying the competition. There's a certain fighter. I won't say his name because I don't want to hear all the backlash for it. But he's a 4-division world champion, and they say he should be a Hall of Famer. But if you look at the 4 people he beat to be a champion, not one of those fighters would be considered a Hall of Famer or anything like that. So that's where I put that line.
Because she's a female,
Exactly.
she's a woman, so that's what I feel.
Yeah,
It's really interesting the fact that we're having this discussion, because if we were talking about a Pepito Perez and going down, let's not forget that she's actually won titles going down in weight.
Down weight, yeah.
That's crazy.
But if we were talking about a Pepito, we would not be questioning his ability or his talent. Zero. It'd be a gimme. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like when she wins this fight, they're still going to somebody's gonna say something like, "Oh, they waited to lie." It's gonna be something. She's not gonna get the accolades.
They'll say she was too big. Something.
Yeah, it's gonna be some. Yeah, it's gonna be something.
Because how she can move up and down in weight, they'll say she was too big for Katie. That's just the way they are.
Let's not forget that Katie is a natural 135. And the fight is gonna take place in lightweight.
Yeah.
So she's a natural lightweight, and this will actually be an advantage for Katie because she's fighting her whole career at 135. Yeah. And people don't understand those fluctuations in weight. It's not how much weight you're 6 to 135. How do you deal with that punch when you're dealing with a 135 pounder punching you? It's a big issue. And it's difficult to understand that it's not the same. Example, Canelo. We've seen him go from 147, 154, 160, 168, 175. But the punching power at 145 or 147, 154 is not the same at 175. Or the assimilation of the power. So let's bring that to the women's end. Same thing. She's coming down in weight.
Yeah. But again, they're going to find a way to try to discredit.
They're going to find a way. Yeah, they're going to find
Yeah, that's just the way it is. But now,
you really think people are going to criticize?
It's boxing.
Oh my God, yes.
It's boxing.
Yes, especially boxing Twitter. Oh my God.
They'll find a way to criticize any and everything. Just give them the opportunity. Just give them a chance to breathe.
There's a very old saying: "He who knows, no explanation necessary. He who doesn't know, no explanation will suffice."
Yep. Exactly. So no matter what,
Period.
they're gonna
exactly.
So
so you coming from such a deep background in boxing, how hard is it to speak highly of a female fighter?
It's not.
For you it's not.
For your peers.
Oh, some of them. No, I can say some of them. Yeah, they don't. They don't. I'll say it, and I'm always like, how not? Because I tell them, like, you guys watch Christy Martin, right? You guys watched Ann Wolfe. You guys watched all these other women fighters. Like, I used to get pumped up to watch them fight, especially those Don King cards where it would be Tyson, Chavez, all these guys. There's Christy Martin. There's one of these other
in
fights.
the 90s.
Yeah, it was like, I loved it. And I'm always like, how do you not get excited to watch those fights? How do you not get excited to watch these women? Especially like now, Amanda, she could knock anybody out. She's a strong fighter.
No. I beg to differ. Amanda, she's not a knockout artist.
But she hits hard enough to stop you.
She can.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, let's go back to the initial statement. She's coming down in weight.
Yeah.
Her power used to be completely different. Now she's at 135. It's a completely different animal. On the other hand, um, Taylor is not a knockout artist either.
Yeah.
She only has 8 knockouts in her record, which leads me to my next question. When are we going to give credibility or respect to the fighting abilities, just the boxing skills of these two ladies? Because one thing, if you have knockout power, that fight is done very quickly.
Yeah.
These women have stamina, conditioning, strategy, boxing skills. When are we gonna realize that?
Well, the smart ones do. We could say that. A lot of them are not going to. But I mean, and it's true because they have to make those 2 minutes count the same way the men have to make the 3 minutes count, but they have to make it
exactly
faster. So it's like you said, it should already be there. They should already be getting their respect. But that's why when I talk about Amanda and her power, is because she still has 30 knockouts out of her 42 wins. And when we look back at it, it's like, you have to think, there's those 2 minute rounds. So she's doing this quicker.
Very quickly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So they're going to keep hating. They're going to keep finding a reason to discredit them. But you really can't, as you said, Taylor's won all these fights. And Katie has fought a lot of highly ranked women fighters on her way to get to where she's at. And she's still there. She's still one of the best, and she's undefeated. She has a big amateur background. As you said, that's all skill because she's not knocking these people out off of 1 hit or 2 hits. She's beating them just with skill and IQ.
Yes. And I'm just going to throw this into our wrench, and I'm going to throw a wrench into our little formula here. Let's not forget that Amanda is a 2-sport star.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because she's also very
MMA.
proficient in MMA.
And she's won by submission, so you guys that want to say she's just knocking people out, she's won by submission in MMA.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, she's
She can actually ground and pound like nobody's business.
Yeah.
It's the casuals on boxing Twitter that like to come up with these. They don't ever like to give women their credit.
Exactly.
But what is it going to take?
It's, to be honest, I don't know, because even though we have gotten a lot of great female fights, I still don't see a lot of men at least on social media, speak on it as much as I thought they would, or they should. So I don't know what it's gonna take. I feel like some of the people that do get like the recognition and the accolades in women's boxing is for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And
people like Amanda, she don't get the accolades and the attention that she should get. But hopefully this fight will help.
That's why I'm so glad we're doing this show.
So, yeah.
I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because I remember when we called the fight of the century, Floyd Mayweather against Manny Pacquiao, and very little. There was very little boxing in that fight, and yet nobody was willing to say that was a dub for a fight.
It was.
Yet it made millions. It was a dub for a fight. You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was upset that I spent $100 on it.
Let me tell you something. It was the longest week of my life. And it was a dud. And we all know that on April 30th, we are going to have fireworks.
Yeah.
Because these two ladies want to prove at Madison Square Garden that they belong among the best of the best. So what better way to showcase their ability, women's place in boxing, than to have the two best at this point facing each other? When was the last time we could actually say that about men's boxing?
If Spence and Crawford fight this year, that's the only way.
Yeah, and if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
Hey, that could happen a lot easier now. So
true that. It is true, but but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it sounds crude, but yeah,
it's the truth.
And after what we saw on Saturday in Dallas, we understand that Errol at this point, what I saw against Jordanis Ugas, might have a very long night against Bud Crawford.
It could be either way. Yeah, it's. I don't know. That's a tough one. I won't talk about that one unless, like we said, unless it gets made, because how many times did you just said men's fights that we've been waiting for and they don't happen? So,
And when they do happen, then we get a dud.
Yes, exactly. So, all right. Well, let's go here. Predictions real quick. Nayka, how do you have that fight going between Taylor and Serrano?
I have it going the distance, and I have it's by decision for Amanda.
Okay. Now, Claudia, I know you're going to be announcing the fight, so are you able to give a prediction, or do you not? No, okay.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll give mine. I'm going with Amanda by stoppage in the 7th round, and I just think it's going to be by stoppage because they're gonna, as we said, they're gonna fight. They're gonna go.
I know. I don't feel like it's gonna be a stoppage. I feel like they're gonna grit it out to the end. Like
I just think it's gonna get to the point where Katie's gonna get cut or busted up, kind of like the when she fought Delphine Persoon, where it was so much of a back and forth. But Amanda's so much better than Delphine is that I think she's gonna find something in that fight and stop her eventually. I think it's gonna be a corner or a doctor stoppage because Katie's not gonna quit. Katie won't quit.
No, Katie's not. Neither of them.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing is we have two fighters that, in terms of dimensions, the physical attributes, they're very, very similar. They're both 5'5" and 6'6", 66 inches reach and 65 and a half inches reach for Amanda. So she's just a tad bit shorter in reach. Yeah. But again, there's something to be said about experience. There's something to be said about being Puerto Rican and fighting at Madison Square Garden. I'm just gonna bring another example to the table. Tito Trinidad, Bernard Hopkins. I'm just gonna put that at the table and talk about amongst yourselves, because that was one of the. And again, that was right after 9/11. Very tough fight mentally. Very tough fight, but. Be Puerto Rican and fight at Madison Square Garden is a completely different dimension. It just takes you to a higher level of anxiety, expectation. And this is Amanda's backyard right now.
Yeah. Now, for Trinidad,
how do you handle that?
All 10 rounds. It's going to go all 10 rounds. It's going to go all 10 rounds.
I don't know. I think, as you were saying, you compared with Hopkins and Trinidad. I think for Trinidad that night, it was just Hopkins was so much better than he was. I know, I'm sorry to my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. That was a great night for me because I was not a Trinidad fan at all. And I also won money on that fight at 12 years old.
How could you not be a Trinidad fan?
Sorry.
Does he beat Oscar? What the hell's wrong with you?
He didn't beat Oscar. He was given the decision. He didn't beat Oscar.
We're going to have to go round by round.
Okay.
Round by round.
Then when he started to get touched
YouTube
up.
will let people
let us do it.
Replay old fights,
Yeah.
And so you could score old fights round by round.
And then when Trinidad was fighting Vargas, remember, once he started getting touched up, there was about 4 or 5 shots below the belt that took all of that energy away from Fernando. So,
and with that being said, do you know that Fernando does not remember the first round?
Oh yeah, I guarantee.
He woke up at the 7th round.
Yeah, he got his.
He went down 3 times in the first round, for God's sakes.
He got his ass whooped in that first round.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, it was like, what the heck?
I know, when I watched it, I was like, dude, I was here to watch the fight. I was like, it's already going to be over. And then he came back, and then I was like, oh, okay.
And he went all the way. So, again, I know we're talking about ancient history, but there's something to be said about history. Yep. And there's something to be said about big platforms. Like at the time, it was Mandalay Bay, Caesar's Palace, and obviously MGM. Well, eventually it became the MGM. Yeah. And now, Madison Square Garden has always been there. But there's something to be said about the environment of these places. How do you handle that type of attention? How do you handle a week worth of interviews and press conferences and, fighter arrivals? just it's almost like playing triple A baseball and then
Going
being
up.
a September call up.
No. For the World Series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have
Yankee
what it
Stadium.
takes?
Yeah. This
At
is
Yankees. Oh my God. I was gonna say Dodger Stadium, but it's okay. Yankees will do.
uh
But again,
Giant
it's
Stadium.
Yankees.
oh
I'm a
my
New York
goodness.
as
I
the
still
Bronx.
love you, but no. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
But there's something to be said
Yeah.
about these places.
Those
They
events.
call upon something that goes beyond your boxing skills and your ability. It's either do you have the mental capacity, the stamina, mental stamina, the the ability to shut everything down and be able to focus. And I think we just named Tito Trinidad, who traditionally went down in the first 3 rounds. We were accustomed to that,
Yeah.
but he had a way to just recover.
Yeah.
He never recovered. Never recovered at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Never.
Exactly. He just got outclassed that night. It wasn't his
Big
night.
time.
And I know I said what I said about him, but I respect him. He's an all-time great fighter. But yeah, I still wasn't a fan. But he was a great fighter. I could never take that away from him. He was.
And after that, he was never the same.
I mean, those type of losses take it out of you.
Exactly.
The guy that I always riffed on Twitter is Prince Naseem Ahmed. I feel he's vastly overrated. But look at the beating.
Ask Marco Antonio Barrera.
Yeah.
Marco Antonio Barrera. And my friend Marco Antonio Chingon took him to school.
Yes.
With the pinky.
He
Kindergarten.
He embarrassed the man in front of the whole world. And
Yes.
then Ahmed said, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to do this no more. So there's those certain fights that take it away from you. This fight, Taylor and Serrano, is
mentally, because boxing is
That has the potential of that. I agree.
Yeah,
This fight
so-
has the potential of making or breaking
Yep.
one of these ladies.
Yep. This is the Super Bowl of women's boxing right here. And the thing is, as you said, it's not only just the fight itself, it's what it means. They're going to put on a show. We know they're going to put on a show. They're going to put on a great fight. So that's going to make the promoters and managers and all these different channels, streaming services, all these platforms say, we got to get a women's fight on there on this main card. We got to make it the main event. We got to show them, because they're going to show up and they're going to probably have the fight of the night, if we're going to be honest. And that's between this card, the top ranked card on ESPN, because we don't know what we're going to get there, but we know what we're going to get with Amanda and Katie. It's not going to be a clinch. It's not going to be running. It's not going to be hugging. Nothing. It's going to be a fight. That's what they know what to do, and that's what they're going to do that night.
Exactly. So I'm excited. I hate that it's like the same day as the Valdez chorus fight, but hopefully
Technology
they
is our
stagger the
friend.
time.
Mama,
Yeah.
technology is our
Hopefully-
friend.
I know. I'm
Hey,
always like, I have a laptop,
Yeah.
an iPad, the TV, the phone. It's like,
Hey, when we were at the Mayer and Han fight, I was watching the fight. When the rounds would end or the fights would end, I would look at my phone and watch the Showtime Lubin and Fedora, and the computer I'm watching
I
Garcia,
was doing that
the
too.
Garcia card. So, yeah, I was
was
watching
doing that
everything
too.
at one time.
Isn't that sick? We could actually, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 to watch Gennady Golovkin.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Forgot that too. Yeah.
That's how sick we are.
Yes. We're boxing degenerates, as we like to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, yeah.
Thank
same
goodness.
Thing. I woke up that morning and I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot Triple G's on it. I put it on and I'm sitting there, watched it, put the phone back, went back to sleep, woke up, and I was like, all right, I got to get ready to go to the other card tonight. Like, it was like,
Exactly.
watched 4 fights or 4 cards in a span of 12 hours. That's really how it
So
went.
since we're talking about boxing, this weekend we see the return of Tyson Fury against Dillian White. It's another one of those that we're gonna have to be on TV early.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
I think Fury's going to win the fight. I think White's...
Easy?
Yeah. White's a good fighter, but he's never showed me that extra level. And the guys that he's beaten, I feel like he's gotten away with a lot of stuff. With Joseph Parker, I felt that he kind of was given a little bit of leeway that he shouldn't. Rivas, I thought Rivas was about to end him, and he kind of got...
Oscar.
Yeah, he kind of got away with some stuff there. We've seen what happens when he makes a mistake. Povetkin put him to sleep. So I don't know. I feel like he's been waiting for a long time for his shot, which I feel he should have had, but he's not beating Tyson Fury.
I think this is
I
about
agree.
a couple of years too late.
I feel like White doesn't have the stamina to fight someone like
Yeah.
Fury. He is gonna like the first couple of rounds, he's gonna give us a good fight, but then after that, his tank is gonna gas out, and he's gonna look very sloppy. And Tyson Fury's height and reach is just gonna he's not even gonna have to do much to beat White because I feel like White is a very sloppy fighter to me. You know, especially when his gas tank empties out.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to deal with Tyson Fury's weight on him. Like he's probably gonna gas out even quicker than his previous fights. So Fury's
I
gonna take
totally
it
agree.
easy.
And I think the sloppiness is part of his boxing style.
Yeah.
So, and when you're dealing, see, the interesting thing is a lot of people talk about Tyson Fury's height and reach and yada, yada, yada. And I understand he's outrageous. This is the biggest man I've ever seen in the ring. Mind you, and I come from the Klitschko era. But this is perhaps the biggest man in the ring, active fighter, world champion. But moreover, he's so nimble.
Yeah.
And his technique is flawless. He sits behind that jab. He knows how to go into the uppercut. And again, when we talk about those fights against Deontay Wilder looked like he had absolutely no skill set to deal with somebody of that caliber. And let's remember the athlete that we have in Deontay Wilder. And Mr. White, with all due respect, is not even to his ankles. As athletic ability, conditioning, zero. So if Mr. Tyson Fury can take Deontay Wilder to school with the pinky and bring him back if he wants to, he can take a punch and come back like dead man walking, just whoo, after the knockdown, and just literally like I thought he was done. I thought that fight was done. And he did dead man walking issue. That shows he's got a jaw made out of granite. I think I'm gonna use whatever he has in that jaw for the countertops in my kitchen. It's gonna work beautifully. So we have not only boxing skill, we have assimilation of punishment, we have capability to recuperate, we have the ability to just make changes and the hop, skip, and a jump as he's going in the round. Yeah. Dillian Whyte doesn't have any of that. I think it's gonna be a very short fight.
Yeah. I think
he doesn't stand a chance. I'm sorry.
5 or 6 rounds at the most.
You're being so kind. I don't see it past 3.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think Fury's gonna come out guns blazing. I think he's gonna work his way into it. But after he gets him, probably in the second or third round, it'll just be to the point where they either stop it or he eventually just brutalizes White. So that's why I say 5 or 6.
You're being kind. I don't say it goes past 3. We should touch base again next week.
On Saturday. Well, I'm
Saturday night.
Yeah, I just think, I got to give White something. I got to give him something, but
he's going to show up. That's what I'm going to give him.
Oh, man.
And barely.
Is that too brutal?
He's barely going to show up because he doesn't even really want to fight because they didn't pay him what he wanted. So,
that was his fault. He should have taken that contract when they offered him it the first time.
Yeah, so he's barely going to show up.
Yeah,
so.
That's on him. He's barely showed up to the media events. I wonder if he's going to show up to the weigh-in.
Exactly.
So,
we
should have this show tomorrow.
He's going to show up to the weigh-in from his hotel room.
But he's a heavyweight. What different? It's going to be Pillsbury Doughboy versus oversized Pillsbury Doughboy.
And see, as you just talked about the athleticness and nimbleness, if you look at Tyson Fury, most people that you see out in the world could probably think, I bet you I could take him. Yeah, he's big, but I could take him because of how he looks. And then you see him fight, and you're just like, shit.
Some people just have that stamina. Like, it doesn't even matter their built. Like, I remember, in high school, this big girl, she used to, run laps around me. And I was like, you would think that I would outrun her. But this girl, she just had that stamina. Some people have it and some people don't. And White doesn't have that. So, if you don't have any stamina and then you have, let's say, how much weight do you think Tyson Fury is gonna come in weighing?
266,
Two-
267, somewhere on there at least.
All right, let's say 270 plus weight on you, and you don't have nothing in your gas
One
tank.
clinch.
Come on, yeah.
All I need is one clinch. How in the hell do you take that big man off of your humanity?
Yeah.
No. And you know what? I had the privilege of seeing Tyson Fury train. He was training here in Boca. 3 a day. Sat in his tidy whities and his cup. And he said, this is how you're going to get the...
Yeah.
And he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. I don't look like a fighter, but this is not what my... And that nonchalant attitude he brings literally to the ring. I remember when he beat Klitschko. I don't... Do y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't give him 5 cents. Let's not forget what the Klitschkos stood for in boxing. They were the most dominant forces, both brothers, in the heavyweights for 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years. And here comes little fat boy, well, big fat boy. And let me tell you, the biggest beating. It was a slaughter.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing because let's not forget also to the fact that they had already been such a dominant force in boxing on the pro level. And the amateurs representing Ukraine, they wiped the house for years on end. So these two had a lot more to lose against a fat boy. And they lost it all.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, when I talked to JB, Jonathan Banks, who took over the training, after Mr. Emmanuel Stewart passed away, may he rest in peace, he said, we really didn't think that he would have any ability. How?
Yeah. I honestly thought Klitschko was going to knock him out in the 6th round because of the way he looks sloppy. Like,
yes.
And then when he fought Cunningham, how he got caught, I was like, oh, he's going to walk into one of these hooks from Klitschko. He's going to get put to sleep. And then I'm watching the fight and I'm like, he's making Klitschko look like Klitschko has no skill. Like, this is ridiculous.
Because, and I'm gonna revert back to Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. Lennox had a huge advantage in reach and height. So all he did was the Heisman Trophy throughout
the fight,
every single round, and that was it. That was the end of the fight. Tyson Fury did not do that. Klitschko did not do that. It was boxing skill versus boxing skill, nimble, so light on his toes. That was the one thing that still blows my mind. When you see such a massive fighter and he's so light on his toes, you're thinking, how?
Yeah, because people that are built like him, you're prone to injuries. Like men that are that tall, with big bones like that, they're prone to injuries. That's why a lot of basketball players, like they are injury prone. So
weak knees and hips.
Yeah, interesting that he is so nimble on his feet and that he hasn't had many injuries. Like his legs are small too to carry all
that weight. You can say it. To carry all that weight.
Not to carry all that weight. So I feel like he has
los gorditos.
I don't know.
The love handles.
Like, people that are built like that, they always have injuries. They're always prone to injuries.
But he's not.
Yeah.
He's not. Claudia,
and that's a reflection
Claudia.
of a fighter spirit, and it trickles down to Amanda and Katie.
Yep.
When you have the postura de gallina, the huevos, that's all you need.
Claudia, they have a question for you here from Box Talk 101. They said, it's great and everything that you're saying, but they want to know how you figured out reverse aging.
Reverse aging. You know what? I'm a happy baby. And scotch and cigars.
There you go.
I like that.
Reverse aging. Well, yeah. I've been around for a long time. I just realized that. Thank goodness.
You look great. You look great.
Yeah, you still look like the first time I seen you on TV.
Which was when?
2 years ago.
Thank you.
No, so for
So
the last,
we're in a serious boxing show, and they want to know about reverse aging.
Yeah, they see because this is how men operate.
yeah,
This is
exactly.
how men operate. You see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Single malt scotch and good cigars.
there you go.
That's the
I
key.
mean, I mean, I don't drink scotch, but maybe I should start drinking scotch. I drink
Yes.
vodka.
What do you drink?
I drink vodka. Um,
That's a good
just
choice.
like yeah, yeah. So, and I drink lots of water. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But more scotch than water.
All right. So for the last part, we'll talk about the other fight that is on that same evening as Taylor Serrano. We'll talk about Valdez and
Oscar.
Shakur Stevenson. First, I think this is going to be a tough fight, possibly for both. Last year, when I brought up the Oscar and Burchelt fight, I had spoke to Oscar the week before, and actually speaking to him sold me on the fight. I told everybody after I talked to him that I believed he was going to win by knockout, and I remember I told everybody that would listen that he was going to win, and then he did. So I felt vindicated. In this fight, I have to go with Shakur. I think he is the favorite for a reason. Um, I,
Why?
Oscar showed me that he could get rattled in his last fight with Conceição. I know he had everything that was swirling around him with the allegations, the failed tests, and everything. Doing
It
it for longer.
wasn't. Yeah.
So, but it
A
was
ver.
yeah. He fought someone that was more of a boxer than he had fought in recent times, and it kind of looked like he reverted to what the issues he had with other fighters. When he fought Burchelt's not a boxer; he's a brawler. Oscar was able to show off on that. Other guys that he fought that gave him a little bit of problems were guys that could actually box a little bit more. Scott Quigg, fighters like that. So with Shakur,
I was just gonna bring up Scott Quigg,
I was
and I
there.
just looked it up just because
I was
that was
there.
2018. That was
It was a great fight.
we called that fight.
Yeah,
It
I
was
was
an
there.
ESPN fight.
It was a crazy fight. It was in the rain, everything out there. So,
And I'm just gonna remind you, it was a double fracture.
the,
Teeth
yeah,
were lost,
yep,
and he still finished the fight.
yep. Broke it in like the third or fourth round,
Exactly.
and Quigg probably weighed 12 pounds more than him at least fight night.
And we could see it. It was such a big
he
difference.
was
I
big.
mean, Scott Quigg looked like
He was a
a welterweight, an oversized welterweight versus
junior,
a little kid.
a junior welterweight, if that.
No, he looked like a little boy
Yeah.
right next to Scott Quigg.
Yeah,
But let's go back. Shakur has speed, and just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna look up his record. 17-0. And I have all the respect to Shakur. I give him all the props that he deserves because he's literally won every single fight in amazing style. Very well versed in the sweet science. The one thing he doesn't have is experience. And when you can come back from a fracture in your jaw, losing teeth, and having your trainer literally put your teeth back into place so you can finish the fight because you need to put your mouthpiece back on.
Yeah.
yeah, that was gross.
Exactly. I am going to go back to the intangibles. There's certain things that are not taught. You either have it or you don't. I'm not going to say that Shakur doesn't. I'm just saying I've seen it. You've seen it firsthand
Yeah,
with Oscar. And yes, Conceição, he was rattled. There was a lot of personal issues that were surfacing. But yet, this is a man that always shows up. And shows up at his best. It doesn't matter what's going on. He will give you his best. Shakur is a fast, high production fighter. Young, hungry, and he needs a name like Oscar Valdez in his record. So I agree with you. This is a tough call. And as much as I understand that Steven is um I don't want to say the favorite, but the Shakur's, how do we call them? Los momios in bets.
Yeah, he's a favorite right now.
He's the favorite. Keep it simple. He's the favorite. I am going to say that this is a fight that's going to go the distance. It's going to be a tough call.
I agree there.
This is going to be a tough call because as much as I know what Shakur can do and throw and punch and weave, beautiful waist movement, his footwork is flawless. I don't think he's ever faced anybody that can withstand the kind of punishment that somebody like Oscar can. So now we go into the mental end because we know fighters that get frustrated because you're this close to throwing the sofa into the ring and nothing is happening. That's the type of fighter that Oscar Valdez is. You can show up con el molcajete and pound him, and he still keeps going. So now we go into the mental end. And the mental end only gets seasoned with flying hours. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Nayka, I know you're not the biggest Shakur fan, but
I'm not. I'm not the biggest Shakur fan at all. I'm not a Shakur fan at all, to be honest. But I do think this fight will go the distance, and I do think that Shakur will win. I just think he is just too fast. His defense and his offense is just like gonna be a little too much for Oscar. Like, I feel like he's gonna frustrate Oscar. Like,
you think?
I feel like yes, because Oscar's probably not gonna be able to hit him like he thinks he is, and he's gonna get frustrated. So yeah, I really do. Even though I hate to say it, because I don't like Shakur, so,
Now, why don't you like Shakur though?
I don't know what it is. I don't know. You know how you just
you just know you don't like somebody.
Yeah, man. And he's just one of those guys I just do not like. But I can't, deny his skill and what he can do. So,
but he's not a heavy puncher either.
Yeah, but he's like one of those like sticking.
No, his production is up to his production that's amazing. But again,
Oscar's gonna be he's gonna get frustrated. He's gonna get frustrated in there.
We should all watch that fight together, even though I'm doing the Amanda Serrano fight. Just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna be watching it on the phone anyway.
My thing with that one is my two questions are gonna be, as you said, once Oscar, if he does get frustrated for not being able to hit him, what does he revert to? Does he revert to chasing him and just throwing wild? But then my question for Shakur is, he's never been hit like someone like Oscar. So if Oscar lands one, and remember,
like even the guy hit like one time.
Yeah, and then he moved and ran and did all that the whole fight.
Yeah.
So, but if Oscar lands it, Oscar's landing that left hook, and if he lands that shot,
I don't think he's not gonna land it as frequently as he thinks.
But with Oscar,
but it doesn't matter. All you need is one left hook in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it just depends.
Babe,
I know.
That's why
is like a defensive. He's
a wizard.
He's a wizard in there.
So I just have one name for you guys, Gradovich. I don't know if you guys remember when Gradovich faced Oscar Valdez. Yes. Why was he the Mexican Russian? Because he was just as flat-footed and he had a jaw that could take anything. And he was done in 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And you know what? Let's not forget corners. Corners are key. Corners are key. The one man that has been a huge influence. Huh?
I feel like, just like Mike said, like Oscar's last fight, he looked like Constantine caught him a lot. Like, you could see it all over his face.
Yeah.
And if Constantine caught him like that, Shakur's gonna do the same. Like, he's gonna be able to catch him even easier and get out of there quicker. Like, So Oscar's gonna be frustrated. And then if you remember the interview afterwards, Oscar was like, he was running all night. Like, and I'm just like, Oscar, he wasn't really running all night because in your face, he caught you. He was able to get in there and catch you. So he wasn't doing that much running. He was running his fist in your face. Like, so, yeah.
Fair, but Have you guys ever noticed that sometimes fighters will always rise to the level of opponent that they're facing?
That is true.
Yeah, but and then that fight was the one where he popped dirty too. So it's like, now what were you doing? Like I caught
It's all about the
I
tea.
kind of look, yeah, I kind of look at him a little funny now because like you got popped
Mama, with those
within this
eyelashes, you're looking a whole
team.
lot of people very funny because those eyes. But seriously, we're gonna talk about uh, testing positive has become. I'm not gonna say the norm, but we're more privy to it now than we used to be.
Yeah.
But it's always been an issue. And I'm not gonna put my hand in the fire for anybody, but I'm just gonna say anybody can test positive at any given time for anything.
I mean, we could talk about Dillian White, whereas we still never seen a second.
Hello?
That B sample,
That
yeah,
B
that B
sample.
sample somewhere in
What
the
about
matrix.
What about Miller, baby Miller?
Oh,
What about where does the list end?
well, Baby Miller, he tested positive for everything at Rite Aid,
Twice.
CVS, Target, Walmart, all the pharmacies. That man never stopped testing positive. So he was supposed to return
It
last year,
never-
right? And then he tested positive again.
And then he was suspended for 3 months, and we haven't heard from him since.
Well, he's
But again,
with
Well,
Fury,
I mean-
right?
He's been sparring with Fury. He's been
Yeah.
sparring Fury.
Yeah, he's part of
He's
his
been in
camp.
Fury's camp. Yeah.
Good for him.
That's how he's gonna get paid now. They said we need someone
That's
that's
how he's getting-
strong and wild. So they just let him go in.
It doesn't really matter how strong or why is he strong, but you know what? It's the expectation of having professional athletes on a regular basis testing negative for everything is ridiculous because your food is tainted. And I'm not justifying, I'm explaining. Are there people that are doing things? Yes, obviously. But is it possible to test positive for anything today? So I'm going to test positive to only God knows what.
Yeah. I mean,
Again,
and in Mexico, the soccer team, we brought this up after.
okay,
that fight.
brutal.
Yeah.
Copa America.
Yeah,
Yes.
half of the team tested positive, and it was all from the same restaurant, the tainted meat. So that is actually a thing that happens a lot in Mexico with a lot of these fighters.
Not only in Mexico.
Yeah, a lot of out there.
It's all over the place. It's all over the place. And all it takes is for you to get a prescription for whatever, be it antihistamines, allergy, for whatever allergy you might have, you're going to test positive to something else.
Billy
because
Joe Saunders and the
that's-
nasal spray.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another story, but we're not going to get in those details.
Exactly, but still, no. To your point, we get it, but it's just. I like I said, I'm gonna favor Shakur just because of the last
Fair.
fight. If we go off the last fight, he rose to his occasion. Oscar had a tough time, but I think it's gonna be a 8-4, 7-5 type of fight for Shakur.
Wow, that big of a margin.
I just think he's gonna. I think also he's gonna jump out to a big lead.
8-4?
I think he'll jump out to a big lead, and then Oscar might start catching him because I think Shakur's going to feel himself too much where he'll stay in the pocket and think, oh, I got this one now. And he's going to get caught a few times to where his trainer's going to say, go back to what you're doing. Don't try to
Box
exchange
him.
with them because that's not going
Just
to go your
box
way.
him.
Yeah. And that's why I think he'll have a big lead. Oscar will make a run, and then
What do you think Eddie's going to say?
Eddie's probably going to tell him the right stuff. It's just the type of fighter. I mean, Eddie can't fight for Oscar at the end of the day.
Fair.
So he's going to tell him everything he needs to tell him. He's going to tell him all the right things, but it's just the certain fighter. But if Oscar wins, I do believe it'll be by knockout. If Oscar's the winner, I think if he lands something on him, he's going to stop him. If he wins. But I think Shakur should win by decision.
We'll see. I this is one of those fights that I don't have a favorite for obvious reasons, but it's hard for me to pick a fighter for that fight. Hard. Two completely different styles. One is the other one is a boxer. But in terms, I'm just gonna let it ride.
Yeah.
I can't take a pick.
Yeah.
Like with Amanda and Katie, I can't take a pick. I can't make a prediction. All I can say is I'm excited.
Yeah, that's
You know what? I don't know if you guys remember, about 2 years ago, we were all talking about how it's dying and we had nobody, there were no stars. And here we are talking about 3 different fights for one weekend.
Yep.
Is that amazing? For 2 weekends, I'm sorry.
And it's not even just that. After that, we got Canelo the next week. We got Charlo and Castaño the week after that.
Yes.
We have so many great fights coming up over the next month and a half, honestly. And yeah, as you said, it's not. We talked about boxing dying, but in the famous words of Larry Merchant, nothing can kill boxing and nothing can save it.
Yes. It's a necessary evil.
Exactly.
As is.
Exactly. So yeah, now
And thank goodness for that.
Yep. As we said, we're boxing degenerates watching fights in the middle of the day, in the middle of the morning, and at the end of the night.
Yes. And then we keep talking about it.
Yep. Exactly. So I want to thank both of you for coming on today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too.
Yes.
So, Nayka, first, go ahead and tell them where to follow you and where to catch you before we head out.
So you can follow me on YouTube at Knockouts with Nayka. I'm bringing back the boxing verses, so stay tuned for that. And on Twitter, you can follow me on boxing_birdie81.
Yep. And Claudia, where can they follow you and where can they watch you besides the zone?
Well, they can watch me on my YouTube channel at Claudia Trejos, and Twitter, Instagram, everything very complicated. Claudia Trejos across the board.